This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. Maybe you want to kick a bad habit or start a good one. If you're interested in learning how to master your emotions and hearing scientifically backed advice for using your emotions as a tool, may I suggest Shift by psychologist and bestseller author Dr. Ethan Kross? Trust me, listening on Audible can help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Hello and welcome to Gem State, the trials of Chad and Lori Daybell. I'm your host, Sarah Jacobson, and I'm joined by, once again, Gem State producer, Ryan Oswald. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
Hey, Sarah. This was another week just packed to the brim with witness testimony. The prosecution seems to be flying through witnesses. Pace of, I think we clocked it at about 8 a day in some cases. So they are really moving. There's a lot to cover. Just between how much evidence and then the different witness testimony we saw this week.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
Let's do it.
So on Monday, Nicole Heidman with the FBI, she testified in front of the court. Now, Heidman was the one who helped investigate all of those electronic devices and communications for Chad, Lori, and then also Alex Cox. Right.
The Heidman testified that they discovered 9 different phone numbers that were associated with Chad Daybell. 3 of which were of interest to them. 6 different phone numbers that were attributed to Lori, 3 of which they found interest in. And then the same for Alex Cox. 6 phone numbers, 3 were of interest. I don't know about you. How many phones do you have, Sarah?
2, but one of them obviously work. But yeah, no, nobody has 9 phones and, something good's happening.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. This was an interesting thing because they were also able with those phones, because part of what they were doing, part of what Heidman and her team at the FBI were doing was they were also researching what they did with those phones. So who did they call? Who did they text? When they can, where were they?
Again, every single movement. So that even has location along with it, which is a really big part of some of this evidence that we found out this week.
Absolutely. She and her team were able to contact Google, and they had a geofence set up. We had to kind of do some research to find exactly what she meant. Essentially what this is you can drop a pin on the location, in this case, Chad Daybell's property. And then they draw a digital fence around it, 250 meters around. Any electronic device that comes or goes within that geofence gets tagged and logged. What they were able to do is then narrow down who was on the property, when they were on the property, and where exactly they were. That led investigators to kind of an interesting discovery.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And just as an aside, how cool is that they're able to do that?
It's really cool. It's kind of mind-boggling that technology, it's just a phone call to Google to say, hey, let's get this thing set up. It's also a little scary, I think, just from that they are able to do that.
Yeah.
But I think the conversation about privacy is probably best saved for our next podcast.
Yeah, we'll save that for another one. But yeah, no, not only did they have that, those pings, but one of the big pings that they got in this, again, geofence, is that Alex Cox pinged on Chad's property. It was at 11 a.m. on September 19th. Now, this is the day before Tylee went missing.
Right. He also showed up a few times on that property in that geofence. The other one, and kind of the big revelation, was that they found him, or they marked him, at least with his digital devices, at the tree in the location next to the pond where J.J. Vallow's remains were buried.
Exactly. So this is locationally for those listening, so they can exactly pinpoint where people are stepping within the property, whether they're near the barn, in the house, or like you said, where the remains were found. Right.
That was kind of a big one. But I think really the big one at the beginning of the week, we had several, for lack of a better term, kind of big witnesses. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is just either they brought, a kind of startling revelation or a new revelation to the trial, or it was someone super impactful. In this case, more impactful was Summer Shiflet.
Oh yeah, Lori's sister.
Summer testified that she was first made aware that the kids were missing in December.
And again, so Tylee went missing September 18th. So this is December, a few months later. Right.
At this point, that's when media coverage is starting to pay attention, right? They were married in Hawaii already at this point. And so now she's hearing all this stuff secondhand. She testified that she didn't even know where her sister was. I don't think she was even aware, at least based off of the testimony, I don't think she was even aware that she was living in Rexburg at the time.
Yeah, from what we're seeing, she had no idea where Lori's whereabouts were, let alone the kids.
Right. So she's now starting to get wind, hey, the kids are missing. What's going on? She's having a hard time getting a hold of Lori, even finding out what's going on. Mm-hmm. Sounds like I don't want to say they were estranged, but it sounds like they just really kind of fell out of contact with each other. So now she's madly trying to get a hold of Lori mm-hmm. to say, hey, where are the kids?
Yeah.
That was a pretty tough one. We do have the phone call.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to want to listen into that. Just a little bit of discretion, because it does hurt your heart to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. We do want to give our listeners just a heads up. So because of the way Judge Boyce ruled, we're not allowed to have cameras or recording equipment in the courtroom.
Nothing.
And so what the court provides us at the end of every day, we get a full recording of the day at court.
Just the audio.
We don't get video or anything. But the audio, we're at their mercy for what equipment they use, where they put it, how all of that sounds. Mm-hmm. And so some of the sound is it's not great quality. For some reason it sometimes seem to put the recorder next to like a rock polisher or in like,
yeah. So apologies on behalf of the Ada County Courthouse.
So we try and clean that up as best as we can. We know that the quality is not always the best, but we do play it because we think it's very important, that you're able to hear in the witness's own words exactly what it is we're talking about.
Verbatim.
Yeah. And then B, just because we really believe, both Sarah and I believe, and then also CBS too, we believe in transparency, and we really want to make sure that we're showing you this is what they said, and this is kind of in their own words. So let's now play the call from between Summer and Lori.
Yeah, let's take a listen.
think I'm insane?
No, I don't. I think you were dancing on the beach having a great time. Getting married. And you took pictures to prove your kids don't deserve a burial, but you need to get wedding pictures? You don't think that's upsetting?
Nobody knows. Sorry.
And nobody knows except for you and the Lord.
Yeah, ask him.
I have. And guess what? I don't have one scripture that says it's okay for children to be thrown away like garbage in the ground. And that's okay. There is nothing in the scriptures that is godly about hurting a child. Nothing. And they deserve a proper burial with family that loves them at the least. I can't support that. That's hurtful to everyone. That's the most selfish, incredibly selfish thing I can think of. I can't think of anything worse. I don't understand. I don't understand. This is not my Lolo that I've known and loved. I've never even seen you be upset with your kids. I went to bed and you said that to everyone.
I never asked him.
How can you just go on without them, without any upsetness, and without telling us anything and then expect us to understand?
Nobody in the world knows what I've been through. And I don't expect you to. All you see is what's on TV, what everybody said, and all the expectations of all the people around.
Okay, so now
No,
deceased.
say that.
Everyone in the world is deceived except for you.
Don't say that. Say nobody's seen me on the floor crying. Nobody knows what I've been through. My children that I love more than anything.
Fine, Lori. You were dancing on a beach with a smile on your face, taking wedding photos.
Trying to go on with life.
You don't see?
Happy, trying to find some kind of happiness. You think I wanted to be alone?
Do you think that your mother and your sister and your son don't deserve to know that the children are gone? Why wouldn't you call and tell us that? Why were we cut off? You saying you want to go on and be happy? You're just going to be happy without your family and your life until you're stuck in jail and I'm the only one stupid enough to be your friend when I've been your best supporter, Lori. I've loved you my whole life. I still do. I can't bear to think of anything bad about you. It hurts me. I don't want to see you in jail. I don't want you to be there. I don't want people to misunderstand. If you would tell me the truth, I would stand up for you for the rest of time. You know that I would.
I love you so much.
But there is nothing okay about this. Nothing. If you think it's okay, well, you have to say
about this is okay.
This is okay.
Nothing about this is okay, Summer.
Lori, we have all read the scriptures. I know you've told me about a lot of your spiritual experiences. You know I've tried to support you in all of them. But I am telling you, because I love you with all my heart, please consider that Chad has lied and been deceived, and that you have been deceived, and that this is not what you think it is. There is nothing okay about killing children. Nothing. And even if you didn't kill them, and Dad didn't kill them, and Alex didn't kill them, you threw them away like garbage in the grill. You tried to the bird.
Think I did that?
I can't handle that. And threw her in a bag. Stabbed her. You know that's such a great guy. You let them do that. I don't understand. It's so painful. I can't even tell you.
think she kind of, I think she sums it up how anyone in that family is feeling or has been feeling since 2020, which was that we love those kids. We would have taken them. Why did this happen? Why did it end up this way?
All of it. Yeah. No, all of it. The revelations that you're hearing in real time. I mean,
right.
It just hurts your heart, especially for the kids.
Of course. And then for the family members that are left behind, we're going to talk coming up about other family members that were in court this week as well. But I think it just, every time you hear in their own words, you hear them say, we would have taken the kids. Why did this happen? Why did this have to be what your decision? Why is this the way you chose to handle this?
And one of the interesting things about this call, again, we've heard this before from Lori in her phone call with her son Colby, but saying that she knows what happened, that she and God are the only people that knows what happened with Tylee and JJ. Right.
We kind of addressed it in last week's podcast. Again, I think it inadvertently tells the other person, I do know what happened. Well, now we all know what happened. The kids are dead. And so for her to be telling Summer and then last week Colby in the phone call, you weren't there, you don't know what happened. The kids still love me. Whatever these platitudes, I guess, are. They also imply that she does know.
Yeah, it's admittance that she knows what happened.
Right. Because how could you say you weren't there, you don't know what happened, unless the opposite means I was there, I do know what happened, right?
Yeah, again, it just sometimes boggles the mind.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right. Well, let's move on because there are some text messages, too, that we want to get to. So Nick Balance, he works with Nicole Heidman, who we talked about earlier at the FBI. Now, he testified that text messages and phone calls between Chad and Lori, they were discovered around October 22nd. Now, this was around the same time of the burial service for Tammy Daybell.
Right. There was text messages going on between Chad and Lori. It seems like it could have been even kind of during or right around the burial service, which I think is that's despicable. That's really dark. That, because Chad has seemingly he's tried to maintain that nothing untoward had happened between him and Lori, that his wife died. He found comfort in the arms of this new woman. That's clearly not the case.
Exactly. It tears apart the narrative that he was creating.
Everything we do, and I think the prosecution has been doing a good job of this, they're tearing apart brick by brick each level of defense that Chad and Lori and their defense team have tried to put up kind of all along the way, during the investigation and then subsequent after their arrest.
Laying out everything for us. So also Balance, one of the things that he testified with is that he showed everybody a map of the data points from Alex Cox's phone. Again, this is from Google, I believe. But it also shows that Alex Cox's phone placed him near where J.J. Vallow's remains were found.
Right.
During this time.
They continue to show the power of their technology, their ability to, really pinpoint where you are, what your movements are.
Data doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't. And it seems like, forgive me, this is my opinion. It seems like Chad and Lori and Alex were kind of going off of what they've seen in movies or on TV shows, thinking that burner phones or whatever would be, they can't trace me, they'll never find us. they won't be able to know what we're talking about. Lori, one of those phones, was solely used to communicate with Chad and Alex. It wasn't even her primary phone. Well, that only works if you get rid of the phone. They found, I think we were talking about this, they found, what was it, a couple of the burners?
Yeah. In the backseat of one of Lori's vehicles.
Right. I think it was in the backseat. Don't quote us on that part. It was in the backseat of her car or in the backseat of Chad's car. I can't remember.
One or the other.
But yeah, so they find just a stash of the burner phones. The whole point of them being burner phones is that you have to burn them at some point, right? You have to throw it away, get rid of it. So I think it just kind of appears that they're making this up as they go along.
Yeah, this isn't done by a criminal mastermind.
No, it's really not. Unfortunately, a lot of the actions that they took really hindered the investigation, really slowed things down, but they in no way stopped, obviously, the investigation or finding obviously finding JJ and Tylee. And
yeah, they're able to piece it together. But also, one of the things too, along with Angela Kerndl, who we have inside the courtroom each and every day of this trial, we also have our chief photographer, Clint Richards, who's outside the courthouse throughout the trial. And he actually spoke with another family member, this time of Lori's uncle, Rex Connor. Now, Rex attended about 3 days of the trial this week with 3 of his daughters. Right.
They said they wanted to come attend. They are family, right? Rex is Lori's uncle, as you said. I think as all of the family members, extended family even, are really trying to process kind of in the same way that we are as a community, that we are,
yes,
just
on a much more personal level too, because of course it's your family.
Right.
And with it being southeastern Idaho, tight-knit community.
Absolutely. And so I think there's, I think he really, Rex does a good job. We're going to play the interview with Clint here. I think he does a good job of kind of summing up. They're there for trying to get some sort of answers. They're kind of searching. But I think sometimes, and especially in their case, you might get more than you bargained for. And I think that was kind of their case. Let's listen in.
This morning was really hard. This afternoon, not as bad. After got a little time to recover, but that was the roughest of. I've been here 3 days. That was the roughest of the 3. We wanted to be here for that, and then found out we didn't really want to be here for that.
So now you're going back now.
Going back home.
Would you come back?
We may come back next week. We're real interested in hearing the testimony of my great niece, Melanie Pulowski. So we may come back for that.
What do you hope to hear when she testifies?
I just want to hear the truth, like we want to hear every single day, and get every piece of information we can to try to make some sense out of this incredible tragedy. And by incredible, I mean unbelievable.
Can you capsulize the testimony and what you've heard?
Yeah, let me try today's. I'm just barely keeping it together after today, so I'll give it a try, but if I stop suddenly and run away, either my Uber's here or I can't handle it anymore. But they told us the cause of death of JJ and then Tylee. So that was really rough because I and my wife isn't here with me, but we've intentionally avoided that. That's just something we didn't want. There's too much to process anyway. We can't make sense out of all of it. And that was just too much. But today we heard that. And they could name the cause of death for JJ, which he was, they put a plastic bag over his head and strangled him. We had hoped, in our fantasy without listening to I know the details are out there, so people that are watching may already know this, but I didn't know it. And we had hoped that maybe he was poisoned, died, and then they did what they did with the body. That wasn't the case. That was terrible for us to hear. And then Tylee, we were hoping to hear something, how she died before her body was dismembered, which is bad enough. And the medical examiner said it was inconclusive. He couldn't tell how she died. So there will never be that answer unless someone comes out and confesses, which hasn't been the situation yet. So both of those factors are just hard for us to deal with. We wish we had more, but doesn't everybody? Isn't that what we all want? All of your listeners, all of your viewers want to hear what happened, what's the truth. How do you make sense of a tragedy that's of an evil that's beyond comprehension? We just can't. But the more information we can get, the better. We just won't get it all, unfortunately.
Are you going to be okay not having closure?
I don't think anyone's going to be okay. I mean, not only me, but I'm no different than anyone else. There are millions of people now, I'm sure, if not at least hundreds of thousands, at least 20 or 30. I mean, I'm sure it's millions of people now that need the same thing we need as family. Everyone that's heard the story has been touched by it, and we all want closure. We all want comfort somehow. We all want to make sense of, like I said, this something that's so far beyond evil that you just can't comprehend it.
So what Rex was describing as he left court that day, of course, a rough day to be in the courtroom. Dr. Warren with the Ada County Coroner's Office, who helped perform JJ's autopsy, he was the one who was testifying that day on what was found. It was followed by a forensic pathologist from the FBI who then assisted with Tylee's autopsy. And yeah, those details were pretty grim. What follows, of course, is going to be a little difficult to hear. So we want to say some listener discretion advised. Again, this case, we're laying out this entire case for you, and we want in full transparency. So again, if you have to turn off, if it's a little too much for you, that's completely okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of us many times, even throughout this week, but throughout the trial, have wanted to turn it off. So we completely understand. Dr. Warren testified about the discovery and removal of JJ's remains, and then how they were transferred to him for the autopsy. This was kind of the first big shocking piece of testimony provided by Dr. Warren, was that he states that he believes he knows the cause of death for JJ as asphyxiation. Dr. Warren testified that after performing the autopsy, it was apparent that there was no other cause of death, right? All of the organs, everything else were in good working order. There's no blunt force trauma that could have caused it.
This is through extensive testing as well. They're swabbing under fingernails. They're testing lungs. They're testing heart. They're testing brain. This is a long process of going through every single system within the body, and then also externally.
Right. Absolutely. And then, he ruled everything else out and says that it was apparent there was no other cause of death. The plastic bag, which was wrapped around JJ's head and then secured by duct tape, all the way down his face, down to below his face, combined with the evidence of, and I think this was kind of the second big piece of startling information that we got, was evidence of a struggle.
Yeah.
That one, it's tough to talk about. It's even tougher to comprehend the level of just brutality that you have to have, the lack of any sort of just human emotion, human kindness, dignity. It's gruesome, and it really hurt. I think that was a tough one.
Again, it makes your soul sick.
Yeah.
Just thinking about,
of course,
how someone could do that to someone.
But
of course that gruesome revelation followed by a description of how then Tylee's remains were delivered for the autopsy. So while JJ's remains were completely intact in a body bag, Tylee's remains were sent over in 3 bags, essentially.
Right.
Now, and they said that Tylee's remains had been so badly burned that the cause of her death can't be determined.
I think there's a really startling disparity between how JJ's remains were handled and how Tylee's remains were handled. And it's kind of where let's separate out for just a moment. And I know it's really hard. Let's separate out the fact that both of these their children, both children were murdered. Let's separate out that just for a moment to say, now, how do we handle their remains? Now, JJ was buried under a tree near a pond with his blanket. Tylee's remains were essentially burned and attempted to be, I don't know, chopped apart is from the sounds of it.
From dismemberment. No, it's night and day, and then also obviously the pet cemetery.
Right. It's an extra level of disrespect. I don't know how else to put that.
Well,
that word doesn't feel right, but
I mean, the desecration of a body, that's
right.
Yeah.
That's for some reason, words multiple times throughout this experience so far seem to fail me because I don't think I'm able to find words that hold enough gravity to the moment. But as you heard Dr. Warren testifying about how JJ was delivered in a body bag, right? And then just the stark difference of then to turn around and say, and then Tylee was brought in these multiple different bags because it was like scattered across.
Yeah. Investigators or forensics had to go through and find each piece and try to piece that together, figuring out what's what. And then also one of the things I want to point out too is because it was so different in how they were both murdered. And then we go back to, I think it was probably 3 episodes ago when we were talking about some of the rules of this religion that Lori and Chad had made that when souls were possessed, that they could either be bound or burned.
Right.
And then you see both of that playing out.
Right.
With her children.
With her children. This is something I think that I think this is what keeps so many people coming back to this case I think ultimately so many of us are just trying to understand something that we can't understand. The idea that you could possibly do this to a child, let alone your children. And
completely. I don't know if, and that's the sad thing, I don't know if anyone is going to be able to figure that out.
Right. I don't know that any of us will get really the answers that we seek. I do pray for the family and all those involved.
Of course,
that they get some measure of justice, even if it's not closure. In this case, and whatever justice takes, however that takes its shape.
So again, a lot of the questions that people are asking themselves, we may not know the answer to, but what we do know now is that from how badly Tylee's remains were burned is that we're not going to know the cause of her death. It's, as according to, of course, the investigators, it is now not determined. Right.
I think that really adds just kind of another layer of the unanswered questions. Although I have to say, I think now knowing how JJ died, I'm not sure it would have really brought any sort of satisfactory answer. It's wounding to hear.
Yeah, I don't think there's any satisfaction. I don't think anyone can derive any satisfaction from any of this. But the thing is, we care, and we care about these children, and we care about these family members who are trying to find justice.
Right. No, absolutely. I think to shift gears here, we have talked about this kind of a few times. The prosecution has a witness list a mile long. They backed up a Brinks truck worth of evidence. The defense seems to be, when they do cross-examine a witness, which is not always, it seems like they're largely asking for, where did you go to school? Or what was your expertise? Like, where did you get your professional training?
Credential confirmation, definitely. That's what I've noticed this entire trend with the defense.
I want to ask you about this because I just want this part has interested me. Now, aside from the witness saying, "Oh, I'm not trained in that," which I guess is possible. Maybe that's why they ask.
I guess that is possible.
I can't imagine the prosecution would put somebody on the stand like that, but I guess you never know. The defense, a lot of these witnesses are FBI agents, Idaho State Police employees. Mm-hmm. Many of them have master's degrees or higher, PhDs, doctorates in different fields.
And then some decades of experience within their field as well on top of that.
Some of the people with the least amount of experience we've seen testify so far have 10 years of experience in their field on top of a doctorate or a master's degree in their field.
But again, the job of the defense is to, you're supposed to be beyond a reasonable doubt. And the job of the defense is to create that doubt within the mind of the jury.
Right.
So yeah, this kind of confirmation, it makes you wonder. But I also think back to when we started this trial and we were talking about how this large amount of evidence had come forth. And while Chad did not waive his right to a speedy trial, Lori did. So again, this is the defense kind of taking what they can get.
Right.
I would suppose.
That's a very fair point. I think Chad's attorneys have the luxury of time now. Lori's attorneys, they don't, right? The reason why their cases were severed or separated from each other was because the defense said there's no way we can go through this mountain of evidence. Judge Boyce agreed. He looked at everything and said, yeah, there's no reasonable way you're going to be able to get through all this stuff. And so maybe there's just several of these witnesses that they did not have time to prepare for. I guess that might be an option as well.
And that is a possibility. Again,
Right.
We don't know for sure, but at the same time, there are a lot of things at play.
Absolutely. I find it pretty interesting. Now with Dr. Warren,
yes,
there was, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was kind of the first time there was a back and forth really between the defense on cross-examination and a witness, right?
Yeah, no. So really what happened in the courtroom was that the defense was going back and forth with Dr. Warren about JJ's autopsy and specifically about why they didn't swab JJ's nostrils.
Right. I'm not sure what exactly they were hoping to find there.
So, straight from the courtroom, Dr. Warren told the defense that it's not something you would normally ever do after a body was found with a plastic bag wrapped over the head. So again, he's been in these situations where he knows what you need to be doing.
Right.
And it's interesting because the defense then said that they didn't know why you wouldn't swab the nostrils. The defense saying it's just something that they've seen in movies.
Yeah, to which Dr. Warren replied, that's scary. It seemed like for the moment, because we're watching this in real time, we're getting live tweets, we're getting live reports out of the courtroom. We're in communication with our reporter, Angela Kerndl. And so we're seeing this, And it seems like, oh, the defense is actually, fighting back here. They've got maybe a line of questioning they're starting to work on.
Exactly.
And then it's kind of a facepalm moment.
It is.
I think Dr. Warren kind of had the last word there, and that was I think kind of telling. I think the defense is probably the defense got there. We've said this a few times now. The defense got their big win before this trial even started. They got the death penalty removed from Lori's case. I think at this point it's mitigating damage control and then maybe trying to take a swing whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, it's an interesting strategy, definitely.
Yeah.
So let's move to Dr. Angie Christensen. Now she's with the FBI, and kind of a little bit more, let's talk a little bit more about the difference between how JJ and Tylee's remains were treated. Because Angie Christensen, again, testified that Tylee's remains had showed evidence that a carnivorous animal had likely chewed on at least one of her bones.
Right.
Yeah, several sharp trauma marks were discovered. Bones appeared to be bent or hinged at or around the time of death. So, again, we don't know if this is pre-mortem, post-mortem. One thing that we had heard from within this case is that bruising, specifically on bodies, happens before death, not after death. That was one thing with JJ that they had mentioned. But yeah, again, they're just kind of looking where JJ had his entire body.
Right.
Again, not the case with Tylee. So they're kind of just looking at her bones.
They're using what they have.
Yeah,
right?
Using what they have, which, again, isn't much, sadly.
Right. They did discover, as you mentioned, evidence of what they call sharp trauma. Now, Dr. Christensen explained the difference. So blunt force trauma is if it's a large surface area object, that's called blunt force. So that might be a hammer or a shovel, like the face of a shovel. A sharp force trauma is something that is narrow that would cause like something that would stab. So like a knife, a screwdriver, the actual blade edge of a shovel, that type of thing. They discovered several sharp trauma marks on several of the bones of Tylee's remains.
And that could be pointing to dismemberment, that sort of thing. But again, with not knowing because of how Tylee's remains were found, there are going to be some questions that we can't answer.
Right. Yeah, I think some of this just indicates, obviously that it happened, not necessarily what or why it happened. They did. So they brought in another FBI agent, a forensic examiner with the FBI, Douglas Heliposka, excuse me. And he is somebody who's an expert in tool marks specifically. I didn't even know this was a position. I thought that was pretty interesting. We were talking about this the other day, that what a remarkable thing to be. Not only are you a forensic examiner, but you specialize in such a finite thing as like tool markings. I thought was
well, and when you're in that type of a specialized discretion, you've seen things. You know what you're talking about. This isn't his first rodeo. No, and he said he's testified to this hundreds of times, performing autopsy type work on tool markings for thousands of cases over his career, and he discovered that what he believes might have had a serrated edge, a blade that could have been something like a machete type instrument was used, and there's marks of chopping motion
was used on several of the bones collected from Tylee's remains.
All right. And then they brought in a forensic biologist with Idaho State Police Lab who testified, Catherine Dace. Now, she testified that Tylee's DNA was found on not only a shovel, but also a pickaxe that was found on Chad Daybell's property. Now, they were also found, those items, with blood and pieces of burnt flesh on them.
Yeah. I think there's kind of two telling pieces of this. Obviously, as we've kind of already said, this is not a criminal mastermind at work here. The fact that they would even just keep the shovel and pickaxe laying around to be found. But also that, again, just as we've kind of the theme of this episode so far, it's just the difference in how the two bodies were treated. I don't know if it was just sheer panic or whether this was the idea of here's how we're gonna dispose of these remains. But I think the farther we continue to kind of go down this wormhole, it just shows such lack of care.
Yeah,
such
completely
disrespect.
Yes.
That's yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Let's fast forward to Thursday, where Tara Martinez with the Idaho State Police Forensic Lab testified. Now, she was tasked with testing fingerprints that could be found on any plastic bags, tape, along with other items discovered with JJ's remains. Now, Tara delivered news that I think may have suspected, that we all suspected a little bit, but it was still shocking to hear out loud. To be honest, I mean, we had already talked about this earlier, Ryan, off the podcast,
right?
But having this confirmed to us again by Martinez, so she was able to lift finger and palm prints off the plastic bag that JJ was wrapped in, that matched Alex Cox.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I think, as you mentioned, we've talked about this. I think we've suspected. I
mean, before Alex died, he had told his then wife at the time, who also testified earlier, that he had thought that he was being set up.
Right. Yeah. He was afraid he was going to be used as the fall guy, which obviously then, that shows that you're involved in some way.
Yeah, he has his hands in it. He's an accessory.
Right. And I think that, but just seeing the confirmation, seeing the fingerprints and the palm prints on the bags is it's just brutal. That's your nephew.
It's a really sobering realization.
It really is.
I think we all didn't want to believe that, but now we have that confirmation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a really big bombshell. I think this is really interesting because I think it shows that Alex, for lack of a better term, is probably the trigger man, so to speak. The one that maybe actually physically committed the murders. I think what's interesting is so the prosecution, in order to get the conviction, they don't need to have Lori actually physically commit the murder, but they need to show that she commissioned it, she wanted it, she was part of the conspiracy to make it happen. And so I think they need to really bring it back, because now physical evidence ties Alex Cox to the murder, at least of JJ. There's plenty of physical evidence there.
Plenty.
Now, the second half of this trial will have to work on setting up Lori's involvement in how she maybe orchestrated this, wanted it to happen, ordered it to be happen, whatever the case might be, right? We'll have to wait and see. But to me, if I was to put this trial so far into two halves, the first half so far has really set up, okay, the kids were murdered. They were found on Chad Daybell's property. Chad and Lori were lying about where they were and who they were with and the kids' whereabouts. They were lying about it to everybody. But so far, the physical evidence just shows Alex Cox was there for, you know, was at least present, was there, and buried JJ. The second half of this, I think, is going to be the really make it or break it, I guess, as far as how do you bring this home now to say, okay, Alex Cox might have physically murdered JJ and presumably Ty Lee, but we know, okay, his fingerprints and palm prints are on the bag, right? What now, the second half of this, how do you tie that together to say Lori told him to do this? Exactly, the premeditation, the narrative. Right. And I think we've started seeing some of that, you know, just with the calls, the text messages, the... Definitely. I think that they've already began, my personal opinion is that the prosecution has already begun setting that up pretty well. I agree. I think just bringing it back to the defense, I think if the defense has any sort of shot, which I think it's probably a long one, we can be honest. If they have any sort of shot, it's to now try and hang this on Alex Cox. To say, hey, there's physical evidence that ties him to this. Lori went along with the whims of Chad, and Alex Cox did the murder, and she's just a poor bystander type thing. I think that might also be why they've spent so much time going over what happened in Arizona with Charles Vallow, right? Is to set, here's a pattern. Definitely, it is a pattern. It's a progressive pattern over time. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we'll see how the second half of this trial kind of plays out. It's going to be interesting no matter what. Yeah. There's no way it can't be at this point. All right, so let's go to the last person to testify. This is Thursday afternoon. Was Samantha Guellium, I believe? Yeah. Tammy Daybell's sister. Right. Samantha testified that in the beginning of Chad and Tammy's relationship, she really liked Chad. She thought he was good to Tammy. He treated her well. But everything started to change in 2018, 2019. Chad used to be close with Samantha's husband. So that would be his brother-in-law. He was, they were close. Up until 2018, 2019, they went for a visit. Chad wouldn't even converse with him. He would not talk with him anymore. Things really started taking more of a turn from there, I think. No, definitely. So Samantha testifying that that Chad and Tammy had showed up unannounced to deliver her a birthday present that year. But Tammy stayed on the porch, and Chad, instead of what he would normally do in that time, go up and talk to them, instead he stayed in the car alone. Right. This was a very strange thing because you're seeing a real behavior shift over time. Somebody who's known him for a very long time. Remember, Chad and Tammy had been married for, what was it, 28 years? I don't remember. Yeah, 28 years. I was going to say shy of 30 years, yeah. Just shy of 30 years. So he has known Samantha for at least that long. You get to know one. Yeah, exactly. Yes. They've known each other for a very long time. She has a long track record to go off of. This is someone you used to be close with. Your families used to be close. Their kids, which would, their cousins, would play all the time. They used to live very close together until Chad decided, no, we need to move. They used to live in Springville, Utah. Yes, and that is where Tammy is buried as well right now. Yeah. Not in Rexburg, Idaho. Right. And so then Chad said, no, we need to move up to to Rexburg, moves the family up to Rexburg, or at least that area. Then his behavior just over time, I think Samantha is an interesting witness because she's able to shed light on Chad's changing personality over time.
Exactly. And we've now seen that played out with Lori, but we haven't seen that with Chad. So Samantha really gives us that inside look that no one's ever seen before.
Right. I think there's also an interesting, this is 100% my opinion, so take that with a grain of salt. I think when you see Chad is no longer conversing with his brother-in-law, he's reluctant to go visit. When they go drop off her birthday present, it's like I'll stay in the car. You've got 20 minutes. Go talk to your sister. This is a weird level of, this is somebody who, and obviously we know now, hindsight being 2020, we know now that he was having an affair. He was having a relationship with Lori. They had been planning kind of all along certain things. We can tell that they bought wedding rings, that Lori bought wedding rings before Tammy Daybell was dead.
Yeah, and she bought her wedding dress on the day of Tammy's funeral.
Right. This was something that they were kind of planning out. They were expecting it. This is somebody who, in my opinion, again, who has something on his conscience and is now isolating himself out of shame and then trying to kind of lash out or take control of the situation to either try and control what he can from it, or maybe push it off on Tammy to treat her like this is your fault, I'm mad at you type situation.
No matter what, there was manipulation happening.
100%. This is just, it's manipulation, it's control, it's just sickening, but it's very interesting to see these moments that from her perspective, right?
Yeah, so let's kind of fast forward because there is quite a bit to her testimony and we will get to that. But one of the biggest, at least the biggest bombshells for me listening to her testimony is that after Tammy died, Chad had called Samantha, Tammy's sister, and said that Tammy had been sick over the past 2 weeks during this time. Now, he said that Tammy was up coughing the night before and then returned to bed around midnight that night. Then he says that when he woke early, he said that Tammy, quote, rolled out of bed dead. So again, they're sleeping in the same bed, going to bed at night. She coughing a little bit. And then he says she rolled out of bed dead.
I don't know how once you're dead, you then roll out of bed. It's just strange.
Everything smells of fish here.
Yeah, absolutely. So now Friday morning, this is Friday morning as Sarah and I are recording this. Samantha is back on the stand right now as we're recording. So we are doing our best to get our live updates kind of as we're recording. One of the things that Angela Kerndl, our CBS 2 reporter that's in court right now covering this, she says one of the last things that the last phone call she had with Chad was in December. It's when she asked him to stop lying. She was really confused and trying to understand what had happened, what had happened to my sister. Why is my sister dead? This doesn't sound right. And now Chad is married. He's married to a woman you've never heard of. So she is Googling who is Lori Vallow. It comes up with stories about Charles Vallow's obituary, where Kay Woodcock is saying, we will take good care of JJ.
And the interesting part about all of this is that Samantha was told by Chad that Charles Vallow had died of a heart attack. So, again,
Right.
she gets on her computer, starts to look up Lori, and immediately she finds out that Charles Vallow, no, he did not die of a heart attack. He died from gunshot wounds from Lori's brother, Alex Cox.
Right. And it sounds like, again, we're getting this in real time right now. It looks like Samantha is testifying that because Chad had also told her that Lori didn't have any children.
That's a big one.
That's really big. So he told her she doesn't have any children. Well, of course, shortly after or while all of this is going on, of course, she finds she does have 2 children. They're just missing. This is right around the same time that Nate Eaton from East Idaho News had caught up with them in Hawaii. That clip was going viral. It's starting to get picked up across nationwide news. And then, so that's when the last phone call happens between Sam and Chad, when she says, stop lying. What is going on here?
Well, and she also says, please tell me about this woman you replaced my sister with.
Right. That's gut wrenching. I really feel for her. I really feel for just everyone that's been involved in this case. We're going to continue covering this. If you'd like to get live updates from today, you can follow us on idahonews.com. We have a live blog that's being updated regularly. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're at CBS2 Boise.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Leave us a review wherever you're listening, because it really helps us out. Again, I'm Sarah Jacobson.
I'm Ryan Oswald.
This is Gem State, the trials of Chad and Lori Daybell.